we're gonna make caramel hot chocolate today. This involves 2 steps. The first, you're gonna have to learn how to make caramel. You can do all sorts of things with it, but the very first thing to do, and it's really easy, is make beverages out of it. If the sugar crystallizes on you or anything difficult, it doesn't matter because you're gonna dissolve it inside of a liquid. You're probably asking, Sam, why are you teaching me how to make hot chocolate in the middle of summer? And I should remind you that you have friends in the southern hemisphere. It's 54 degrees and raining in Auckland right now. I like hot chocolate more than wine. You don't have to get snooty about it. It's good all the time. In hot weather, it helps you acclimate. I don't even care whether or not that's true. It's sort of like when people say wine's healthy for drinking. In cold weather, it warms you up. It brings people together. Milk. I know that this looks like actual, honest to God, straight from a cow milk, but this is oat milk. I don't like it in everything, but for chocolate, coffee, and in cereal, it's a really good alternative to dairy milk. It also helps those of us that are lactose intolerant. Whole milk for this is totally delicious. Just not everyone can have it.
Cocoa powder.
You can get Dutch process or not. We are not going to bake our hot chocolate, so we can use whichever.
Vanilla.
Because it just goes a long way.
Sugar.
So we have to sweeten it because I don't know if you've ever had straight cocoa powder before, but things you shouldn't put in your mouth plain: cinnamon, cocoa powder, unsweetened Kool-Aid.
Tide Pods?
Oh, Tide Pod milk.
Mugs.
I love these diner style mugs. They're super just, I don't know. You can hold them and they feel nice, and that's really good. I like putting caramel in hot chocolate because it makes it richer and more complex. Kind of like how people like to brown butter, you know? It tastes like butter, but it tastes extra rich because you did an extra step to it to build flavor in there. It's also a really cool skill to learn how to work with caramel. An important thing to know the first time you do this, if you burn the sugar, it can be really hard to clean. I don't want to be held responsible, so, you know, use something cheap. Whatever pot you use should be lightly colored. And the reason is that you know when the caramel's done by what color it looks. And if you have a black pot or a pot that's a dark color on the inside, it's gonna be too hard to see the color of the caramel. And that makes it easier to burn it by mistake. The last thing is to make sure that your vessel is very clean. If the sugar encounters foreign substances, whatever they may be, it's more likely to recrystallize as it begins to melt. So just take my word for it. Clean the living daylights out of your pot before you do this. The other thing that you should know about melting sugar, it is really, really, really hot. Don't touch or come anywhere near the sugar. It will burn you badly. Let's turn our heat to high. We'll just put the entire half cup of sugar in there. And then we're gonna wanna level it out. And you can do this just by shaking the pan. As the pot gets hotter, it'll start to melt along the edges. No matter how great your pot is, it's not gonna melt totally evenly. Do not disturb it as it's heating up. We're just gonna shake it a bit as it gets to the end. As the sugar heats up, you're gonna smell something that reminds you a little bit of caramel, maybe a little bit like cotton candy. And that's your indication that you need to start paying close attention. So do not walk away from the sugar during this time. If you look at the very edges now of the pot, you'll notice it's starting to get a little bit melty. So if I shake this around, we'll notice that some of the crystals are starting to dissolve in heat. Get a little bit of color in there, you know, get kind of apple juicy. Now we're getting right up to that copper penny brown, which is just the color we want because we don't want it to burn. We just want to get nice, rich color. And then we get our cold milk and we take it off the heat, and we're gonna get a really strong, you know, zzz when we pour it in. Then we're gonna turn our heat down to a low, kind of use the whisk to stir around. And so see, there's like these caramel bits, and notice how the milk starts to become kind of caramel colored.
Oh, hi. What were you doing?
How long does it take the caramel to unstick?
Probably like 3 to 4 minutes. You could drink this right now and it's caramel milk. It's great. Just take a little bit of salt. And if you've seen my salt video, you should know that I can't tell you how much salt to put in because I don't know what kind of salt you have. So I'm just gonna say a half pinch. If you are making a dish and you could swear you had it and it was great once and you can't, just try putting a little more salt in it and see how it goes. For sweet things too. Incorporating cocoa powder into a liquid is a pain in the butt because it tends to just like to float on top or fly in your face and make you sneeze. That's why I like using a whisk. It helps break the powder up and incorporate it in there. So I've got the cocoa powder in here and it's floating on top, but luckily I have my good friend the whisk here and I can just whisk it. Then finally, we need a touch of vanilla at the very end, maybe about a ½ teaspoon. I'm not even really measuring, I'm just using a tiny amount. It smells like chocolate cake. I mean, you're gonna be drinking chocolate cake. It's so good. Clean as a whistle. Oh, that's really good. It's just so rich and chocolatey. It's awesome. But now, let's add some coffee to it. Just watching that water boil. I'm gonna say something that I don't think many people agree with, which is, I don't like marshmallows in my hot chocolate. You can, come at me. Come at me, bro. I think it waters down the hot chocolate. I just wanna drink the chocolate. I don't need no additional floating sugar mound on top of my delicious hot chocolate. Coffee and chocolate are a classic combination. Anytime you're gonna use one or the other, try to sneak a little of the other guy in there, Some of the best chocolate cakes, the secret is that they actually have a little bit of ground espresso in them. And some of the best coffees are actually secretly just cocoa beans, I can tell you. And I don't even measure. I just, get a big mug. I'm gonna get Alex to drink this. Is it good? So it's a yes? What's your favorite thing about it?
The coffee.
I just can't win. You're just like, nah, this guy doesn't know what he's doing.
No, it's really good, Sam. It's really, 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 really.
Oh, I just stopped recording. I mean, it's just so warm and comforting and delicious and rich. So make some caramel hot chocolate.